Christoph the inside, Darcy Brahma, now he's starting to knuckle down, and his true class is starting to show today. Darcy Brahma in front of very brave Christoph tries hard, but he's back on his vehicle, Darcy Brahma. Alamos is starting to charge after them now. Serslick in front. Alamos is trying to reach in. He's coming home very quickly. Alamos ranged up. He's a great 3-year-old, and Alamos has got the prize. But have a look at Mufasa. Mufasa's a mile in front, and Mufasa is back to his brilliant best at Group 1. Here's the battle we all wanted. Cowie and Start Wondering. Sophia Rosa late Start Wondering. Cowie brave on the outside. He really digs in. He gets a half a dozen Group 1.
Morning everybody and welcome to the First Call. Lovely to have you with us on this Friday morning as we get set for what is a massive weekend of racing both here in New Zealand and Australia. 4 Group 1s, 3 of those in Melbourne. Looking forward to those as the 2-year-olds step out. Some New Zealand interest with Sensei in there too. We'll talk about that shortly, but it is all eyes on the Haunui farm. Wait for age, Jason Tan, but middle of summer, wee bit of a roadblock. The weather's arrived.
Oh, the weather is creating quite a betting conundrum because on the Met Service for Otaki, there's some 50 mils of rain that they expect today. Whether they will get that remains to be seen, but that's what the weather forecasts are saying. So the track already well into the dead range because of irrigation, and now because of potentially the weather, we're not quite sure where that track will sit. I'm sort of playing it on playing the form around a slow track, but look, it could be a fraction worse than that, or it could play a fraction better depending on what happens today. But we saw some greats of the turf in our opener there. That's really having me fizzing for the Group 1 tomorrow because we've got another filly in Melody Bell, or a mare now, that's searching to add another Group 1 to her tally, what already has been a super season.
He sure has, and like you say, Mufasa winning by a margin there, and seeing back into Alamos, which I remember really fondly that day as well.
Was it one of your first Group 1s with Michael Walker?
It was one of the first ones, yeah. I think about 3 or 4. So it was, it was pretty memorable day.
He was right at the peak of his powers. We saw him on Darcy Brahma as well. That was when he was super, wasn't he?
Absolutely. So it's been a good race over the years, and we've got a really competitive race. Like you say, certainly Melody Bell's the yardstick, but Volpe Veloce Bostonian were really close and behind her in that BDC Group sprint. Endless Drama adds real interest. A horse who was Group 1 placed in Ireland has been third to Winks and Hartnell in a race in Sydney and won that race 12 months later. So it's a terrific race. And outside that, 2-year-olds in Matamata is really interesting. We've got one who's nominated for a Golden Slipper, a whole heap nominated for Group 1 races, and a whole lot of Auckland Cup contenders going around in the Kaimai Stakes as well.
Yeah, that 2-year race should be a good race. A couple from there at Matamata, which we will dissect here on the show. Back to last week, though, gentlemen, the Derby picture, I suppose, Aidan, it's starting to come together, isn't it?
Yeah, it's starting to come together, but the crazy thing is, the talking point might be about who's not in rather than who's in at this point. So there's a few horses going around this weekend. Tolmac, we'll see Platinum Invader go around as well, who are trying to enhance their chances by getting enough prize money to qualify. Obviously, Sword and Stone's missing out as it stands at the moment. Arrogance Touch and Ghost got into the field with a scratching of Langkawi during the week, and also Ripper Eagle came out of that market, but could well be leapfrogged in the next day.
What's interesting is that, I'm pretty sure I've got my sums right on this, but Platinum Invader lines up at the 8th race at Otaki. Now, if he wins that, I think the winning stake still has him $525 short of Arrogant, who sits at 18. But obviously, there's still a question mark over a horse like Cernate. Post the Avondale Guineas, they weren't sure whether he'd come to the end of his preparation. So the connections will be monitoring that horse to see whether, in fact, they'll end up going to the Derby. So if he were to come out, then if Platinum Invader won, got to 19, then he would make it to the 18, assuming no others leapfrogged. I don't know that there'd be any others below that could leapfrog. Sword and Stone's just in the lap of the gods, whether he makes it now. The well-backed horse that was $2.80 favourite for the Waikato Guineas and placed by 2 heads third, 2 heads away from winning, and might not get a start in the race. But it's just one of those things. Like, he's a lightly raced horse, and he just hasn't quite earned those stakes. If he'd won the Guineas, obviously there'd be no question, and he went about that far away from doing so.
Exactly. Surely Sacred was terrific in winning. We saw a super trial from Vernon Me, and then we saw In a Twinkling, and a few of those horses actually start becoming, you know, just possible contenders to actually being, you know, real Derby candidates.
Those first 3 home in the Avondale Guineas, they had huge merit in their own rights for very different reasons. Obviously, the winner, Surely Sacred, sustained a very big 800-metre run. It was a huge effort. The second place horse, In a Twinkling, fought back and ended up running a faster last 200 than the winner, having done a huge amount of work to get to the speed. And Vernon Me, with the well-publicised pre-race issue, and sort of the, you know, maybe wasn't 100 well enough to race, but maybe not 100, and you know, can he find improvement for the Derby?
There's drama there. And of course, Tiaka announcing this week that Glenn Boss would be coming to ride either one of their runners. I've got Pre-Defer and In Twinkling. Opie Bosson will ride the other one. So yeah, it just adds a bit of interest into this Derby for sure.
You can bet into that on trb.co.nz, and on Channel 62 next Thursday at 10:30am you can catch the Derby preview show here, then the first call next Friday morning. Let's have a look back to last week and see how we got on with our bets. Well, Jason Tan had a little bit of a return there, so did you, Aidan. We're all sort of around par for the week.
Yeah, it was a very good double bet. Jason, you'd have been interested in that, seeing Weaponry go into Oropuki Land.
Well, you nailed
$25 at that double. Thank you very much.
You did nail it. Actually, well done to, you know, those that stuck thick with Weaponry. Obviously, you know, it hadn't had a lot of luck, but
Dylan Turner had a day out down there. He rode really well and got a couple of big prizes.
Well, his ride was superior to Terry Mosley's ride, and Terry was, you know, by circumstance had to move. He was caught wide, and you know, I think he would admit that Air Max is probably best ridden with a little bit of cover rather than facing the breeze. But it was Weaponry's day, and yeah, very much deserved it. You had a great day out at Ascot Park as well.
Yeah, Graham and Michael Lead helped us out.
Well, the Punters Lounge viewers who sort of followed your race preview would have absolutely filled up. It was a big return.
And your best home as well with Eva Loyal. So yeah, on the whole, it seemed to be an okay
great
week.
result.
Yeah.
Great result. Let's hope that we can find you something this week. And our first port of call is off to Otaki. And I suppose, Jason, the talking point is the weather in terms of what we can expect with track conditions.
Yeah, so, you know, at the moment the track sits in the middle range of dead, and it is expected to deteriorate. Rain possibly heavy is the official forecast, and as I mentioned, the Met Service is suggesting upwards of 53 mils of rain today. That's a lot.
That is a lot of rain.
To state the obvious.
How many mils in a glass? You can work that out.
Depends on how big your glass is. But sometimes you have it.
I mean, you've got diameter. It's just pi r squared times height.
I know how much is in a stubby. That's about 350.
Let's move on. Here's the market for the Group 1 Hanoi Farm Weight for Age Classic. At Group 1, and the race favourite Melody Bell, $2.80. Of course, a close affiliation herself with Hanoi Farm. 280 and 140. $6 for Volpe Veloce, jumping from a positive barrier draw. $6.230 is her price. Bostonian. Michael Cahill to do the riding, $9.50. And Endless Drama, the Australian up the top of the book, the Irish import into Australia, now here in New Zealand, $8.260. What was your initial reaction to the price of Melody Bell, Jason?
About where I thought she might be, so I'm happy enough with that price. It's probably not a great deal of room to move. I mean, her wet track record's actually pretty good, but I think it still dampens a bit of class. You know, like I think she's very much the class horse of the field. And so when there is rain around, I think that dampens class.
Isn't that an interesting riders list, though? We see Cassidy, Cahill, Charlotte O'Byrne, Jake Lowry, Opie Bosson. It's just a really interesting range of riders coming from all corners to be part of this, and from all experience levels as well. Chris Johnson in there as well. So the tactics will be interesting. I've met Melody Bell to track forward from barrier 13. Now, barrier 13 might be an advantage if this rain comes. You know, it means that she won't be going towards the fence. She'll be staying out wider. And so Consensus, another one drawn wide, who likely to go forward. I've got Bostonian back there in sort of 5th or 6th spot. Whether they want to be more positive, I'm not too sure. Endless Drama, Shadows Cast there. You've got those horses such as More Wonder Ladies First, and probably Volpe Veloce heading back. Although Choice Attitude's an interesting runner in the race. It is a winner of 2 of 26, has been going around in lower grade races and not really setting the world on fire. It's a horse who they won't want to be tracking into this race, so potentially just a little bit of a speed bump for many in that race.
I think if you're looking tactically and you're looking at draws in themselves, you might get put off, but this is a far different scenario for Melody Bell drawing wide than it was in the Railway, notwithstanding the fact that the 1600 metre point at Otaki there is more time before the track you hit a bend rather than what the 1200 metre starting point at Ellerslie is. But like this day at Te Rapa, she sat just in behind the speed and she was very good late. Obviously widest of all is Volpe Veloce, furthest left of screen in the black. Now, this is the question I pose to you. From here, who's hitting the line better, Melody Bell or Volpe Veloce?
The sectionals are saying that Melody Bell has run a faster last 600 than Volpe Veloce. It certainly was a race that favoured those who were closer to the speed. Volpe Veloce is one of the only horses to have made up any ground. She is in super form.
Yeah.
Who run in the Railway First Class right alongside Melody Bell, who run the Westbury Classic to pick up Sleeping Beauty was just enormous, and she's hit the line really strongly, burnt home to get that. But the thing that I take most out of this race is just the absolute refusal, the blunt refusal of Melody Bell to accept defeat. She just wouldn't have it, didn't want a bar of it, said I'm going to get home, and she did. It was a phenomenal performance, and you got to feel for Bostonian because it looked as though it was his race. And the thing about this, you know, because they're three contenders, they're three major contenders in the race. I think they're probably the best three. And they've all got wet track records. So Melody Bell's 4 from 6, slow and heavy tracks. Bostonian's 5 from 6. Volpe Veloce is 3 from 7. So they are the horses who are least affected by a rain-affected track, and they're bringing the best form. So I think if you like them, you just bet them with confidence.
Interestingly, like Bostonian splitting Melody Bell and Volpe Veloce is still at $11. Like that to me, on the face of things, like maybe he's got a question mark over the 1600 metres, even though he has won over the trip. Maybe there's a question mark there, but that seems to me like a bit of an over, actually, that $11
His win
price.
over 1600 metres was it his most recent attempt over 1600 metres. It was in the Group 3 Sunshine Coast Guinea, so it was in good
And it was on a
company.
rain-affected track.
Absolutely. And here's a horse who will position up, handles a wet track, is in great form, and is getting $11.
Okay, as I look, actually, it's already into $9.50, and that's fair enough. So I was looking at it last night and had $11 in my brain and thought that was too big. Yeah. I still think $9.50 is too big.
Let's take a look at Shadows Cast and continue our discussion here. We're taking a look at the Group 1 Hanoi Farm Wait for Age. Here he is winning the Thorndon. Windspell finishes second. More Wonder, I suppose, is the interesting horse out of all of these races. He's just the 3-year-old, gets a lighter weight, Jason. He's still a bit of an enigma, but Shadows Cast, just a true professional, isn't he?
It was a great ride this day by Jason Waddell. He summed up the race well. From a wide draw, he overcame that with gate speed. And look, I see there being a little bit more pace, but overall not a great deal of early speed in the race. Those 6 horses that you mapped, Aidan, I think they'll be jockeying for position, and then I think you'll probably see a fairly sort of even at best tempo the middle stages. Look, More Wonder since then has trialled and looked fine in a trial.
Absolutely.
Short course trial. Actually jumped okay in that trial. And I know there wasn't the early hustle and bustle around to find spots, but jumped with them and found the lead sort of in a recent trial. So he's obviously in good enough fettle.
Yep. He ran the fastest last 600 of that race and comes in a kilogram better than both Shadows Cast and Windspell under the conditions of this. He was luckless in the previous couple in the Auckland Guineas and in that Living Classic, but then he just got too far back in the Thorndon. Although, in saying that, it was run to favour those back in running. Of the top 6 in running, 5 of them have been settled 9th or further back, and I think what that says is that Shadows Cast performance from on speed to not only kick on but to win the race was absolutely top class. My concern here is that he's got no record on a rain-affected track. That's got to be a massive issue.
And everything that you've heard from the camp is that if it gets beyond dead, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, they want it rock hard for him, and he's not going to get that.
And you can see that in how he races. He's put in his 2 best performances his last 2 starts, Shadows Cast. He was very, very good before he trialled and went into Trentham at Awapuni, over 1,400 metres, he was explosive. And he can be explosive on top of the ground, so that dampens his brilliance. Sort of a rain-affected track that might get to slow. That's for sure an issue.
And the same goes for Windspell. And one thing we've seen in Shadows Cast and Windspell in their last couple, Shadows Cast got Windspell's number. So I really don't... Windspell's a horse who's won 3 of 33, and once again, he's a horse who... I don't want to play in these type of races.
Okay, that's fair enough. Endless Drama. This horse, former Irish galloper, won the Apollo Stakes over 1,400 metres at Group 2 level.
In the gates.
In Australia. Misses the kick. There we go.
Yeah.
Larry Cassidy to do the riding.
Must have been 4 lengths.
It's always the question, Aussie form with us. I suppose Dan O'Sullivan might be able to allude to it more later on, but where does he kind of sit for you, Aidan?
I really like what he did here, because in the closing stages, Edson's still back second last, right? So, and we're going to see Tom Melbourne actually win this race, coming peeling wide, 3 wide in the OTI colours, and does it nicely. But you can see there, he's come wider in the hands of Glyn Schofield as Endless Drama, and closes really strongly. So Tom Melbourne's run the quickest last 600 of this race, but Endless Drama has run not that much inferior, and prior to that had trialled up really well. He's a horse who brings just a really... an amazing sort of form line into this. He was a Group 1 performer in England and in Ireland before he was sent to Chris Waller. He's run 3rd to Winks and Heartland on Apollo Stakes, come out and won the Apollo Stakes the next year. So he's obviously a high-class horse. Goes around in the colours of McPhee and obviously Sheikh Fahid Al Thani raced Dunedin, who we know well as well. So it just adds a real international interest to this race for sure. But whether he's adept in rain-affected tracks at 1,600 metres, I'm just not so sure. But on class, he's got it.
He's had one meeting with one other runner in this race, and that was in Queensland. It's Volpe Veloce. They met in the Kingsford Smith during the Queensland Carnival last year on a rain-affected track over 1,350 metres. And he had a wide trip the whole way. Volpe Veloce was second last, and there's probably about a head or so separating them on the line. Not a heck of a lot between them. Now, probably conditions that won't be dissimilar to what presents after the weather today, tomorrow. We're guessing a little bit, but that's what we're expecting. We have to provide something on Friday morning,
absolutely.
don't we? So when you see the replay on a Saturday, we might look like gooses, but it won't be for the first time. So that's an interesting line there. I have question marks over 1,600 metres, this horse. But he is well placed, you'd think, on his best Australian form. He's got a very similar profile to when he won over 1,400 metres this time last year off that same preparatory run, and they've chosen to go for a Group 1 1,600 metre race. So there has to be a lot of respect around that. In last 5 Australian runners, we've seen Longleaf had success, and we've seen, those 3-year-olds and True
2 Group 1
Excelsior.
sprints. Botti, Nobu failed in the Avondale Guineas, and Tolmac has failed in a couple of starts here as well. So they don't come over here and just get handed these races. And he's coming over here to win a Group 1 race because he's a 7-year-old stallion who hasn't yet won a Group 1 race, although he has run second in, as we say, an Irish 2000 Guineas, third in the Lock-In Stakes. So.
I just want to touch on one more horse before we wrap it up. Sapera. 15s into 10s. She, obviously, with her weight for age placing a couple of starts ago, it shot her rating up. She sort of sits okay at weight for age by the looks of things. Up 4 kilos, though. Where are you at with her?
Oh, she's a genuine chance, Sapera. I obviously liked her last start, and I like the fact that she's a progressive, lightly raced mare. I think she's got a lot of quality, and I think that this is a race that they will have her very much spot on for. Look, I marked her 12, so where she's got to now is not where she opened at, so, that's around...
You could have gone the cash-out option.
Well, get me started. Stop pressing my buttons. I haven't had a lunch yet. but in all seriousness... And also Consensus, like she is a Group 1 mare who is in good form. Just not quite sure about an off-track for Consensus and whether they'd be... And she has won a couple of times on slow, but I don't think they'd want it on the worst side.
She was second in this race last year when it was run at Hastings, but you look at the quality of the field from last year to this year, this is definitely a stronger edition of this race. But it was very much on speed last year, and it has been one of those races that have favoured those on speed in the past as well. So let's hope that this is maybe a little bit more truly run, but Consensus isn't great form, you can't ride her off.
Let's make some money then, gentlemen. Jason?
I'm with Melody Bell. I think that the map has her in a really good spot. I think that Opie Bosson will be positive on her and will sit in the first 4 or 5 with cover and move when he needs to move. I've also got a small bet on Bostonian, $15 on it, so $35 on Melody Bell and $15 on Bostonian. He was at 11s when I did my bets, now to $9.50. That's still, to me, a price.
Yep. I'm going to push your buttons a little bit more, Jason, because I'm going to play the race by kicking for touch to some degree. I just couldn't really work it out, so I'm going to take 4 of them. And, of course, it being the first leg of a double, Jason, we're going Endless Drama, Bostonian, Melody Bell and Volpe Veloce into one that you like, I know, Platinum Invader in the second leg of the double.
Just praying that you get through the first leg and that you get some luck in the second leg.
Can you cash out on a double?
No, you can't. But you get the concession, 25% of the pool.
I don't know what I would do if you could cash out on a double. I might give the game away if that...
Yeah, please. Here we go. Open your Meta books, gentlemen, because after the break we're going to talk 2-year-old fillies. Don't go away.
Bavella in front though, going towards the post. She's a ladies a length and a half off it. Bavella too good. Bavella will win it. But away goes Bavella with 50 metres to go. Shut the gate time. She's smart. Makes it 2 from 2 and she's cruised it in.
Gorgeous, isn't she? Bavella, and she lines up in the J-Swap Contractors Matamata Breeders for the 2-year-old fillies on Saturday. And here is the markets. Aidan's joined me. Gee, she's good, isn't she?
Yep, I spoke to Lance Noble during the week and he says he's never had a 2-year-old of her quality go through his hands, and he's expecting her to go a really bold race. She opened at $2 into $1.90 now, so there's been money there. Appellant very good in the Kanaka Million into $4.80. Has to be good, who we expected to be winning at New Plymouth that day. Just couldn't run down Miss Federer at $9 there. And the rest of the market fairly even. Harlow was really good on debut at Tanapa at 11s. And Ala Luna, I see no jockey yet. I'd imagine it would... Oh, Sean Mackay's now gone to Beauty Diva, so maybe that means it might not be running. I don't know.
Okay, in terms of working out the 2-year-olds with the speed map, never an easy job, Aidan, but you've done your best.
Yeah, I have. I've got Bavella going to the front. I think they'll be really positive from a wideish gate. Aretha will definitely press forward, and so will Rainbow Dash. I've got Has to be good a little bit handy, just from barrier 4. I think there's an opportunity to take up a spot. Harlow there as well. There's a few horses that tend to be get-back horses, such as Appellant, Ala Luna as well. So not an easy one. They could be positive here with Beauty Diva as well. Jason, how did you sort of see the pace here?
Yeah, I agree with sort of Rainbow Dash and Barvella going forward, that's for sure. Appellant is in a pretty tricky position, isn't she? That's not easy for her, but her pattern suggests that maybe she would have sort of been allowed to settle early anyway. She's got a heck of a finish on her. She, you know, they got first runner in the Karaka Million, and there's a very good case to say that she should have finished closer than that third equal position that she picked up.
Yeah. Let's go back to Bavella's last win to the races before being turned out. She was so good here, Jason. Just in reflection to the price we saw, $1.90, is that somewhere around your pricing with her?
Yeah, I thought that she might have started, well, she did open even money. It's pretty hard to price her much shorter than that because both of her, well, her debut was over 880 at Ellerslie, and then this over 1100 was on a rain-affected track. So you're pricing her a little bit on spec, but everything that you see about this filly, she looks proper. She's a proper horse.
Absolutely.
So, you know, she's by Schnitzel. If there is a little bit of rain on the day, we know that she's coped with that. Now, there's not as much rain in the Matamata forecast as there is in the Otaki forecast. So I'm not sure, and they have been watering significantly throughout the week, so I'm not sure that it'll get sort of to that slow range. But there's only a little bit of rain in the forecast compared to further south of the North Island. But she looks special.
Out of that video, if she does start, Ala Luna has had 2 further runs, was very good in running into second, has run 4th, a pretty good run in the Eclipse and behind Whiskey Neat, then was making very good ground from basically last in the Karaka Million, ran the second quickest last 600 of that race as well. So
let's have a look at it.
Not out of, yeah.
We've got that coming for you, the 2-year-old race, the Karaka Million. And here it is, Appellant finishes into 3rd, Ala Loon. Just a little wayward on the turn, Aidan, but as you say, hits line strong.
Got a long way back, and Sean Mackay had real queries about whether he was fit to ride. He rode a pretty good race in the end, and he was hurting a little bit afterwards, but I thought he put the horse in the right spot. That's the horse on the inside, Appellant, really getting home in the yellow and red stripes of the Pies. A very good run, ends up dead heating for second. We'll no doubt see this video again with Altia Lad and Dunn and Your Deal clashing in the Matamata Slipper. And obviously the run of Beauty Diva was just a horse who never said die. Just got into just getting into a little bit
really
of a tight
good run.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good run from her because they set a very fast speed. She was just behind it. She did get a nice park behind the speed, granted. But to sit that close to that speed and to still be there, I thought that she was entitled to not be as strong, if that makes sense.
The one thing about it is she's been really inconsistent. That's my problem with Beauty Diva, because she was terrific on debut. Went just an ordinary race second up. That Eclipse Stakes run was just, you know, she was there, faded out, beaten 13 lengths, and then come back and bounce back with a terrific run in the Karaka Million. On ability, she looks as though she's a contender in this race, but I just don't. She's not a horse that I want to be able to put my trust in on what was
let's put it this way. Like, to me, if Ala Luna starts, and I don't, you know, it looks like she might not, but if she were to start, she's at 11 and Beauty Diva's at 23 now. I've got nothing between them, essentially. Okay. Like to me, Beauty Diva's far more an interesting proposition, especially given her racing pattern. That, you know, she'll be right on the speed, planted there. If she got that nice run, then she's a pretty decent 460 place chance. Ala Loon might finish maybe a bit stronger, but
I think she'll be better left-handed, Ala Loon, based on, well, you see her just running down a little bit. Ellerslie there last time just didn't handle that last bend, so it'll be interesting anyway to see what happens there. Blinkers Go On has to be good here, Jason. Aidan's got this horse settling handy enough in the run. A surprise second place getter here, I suppose, behind a much underrated Miss Federer.
I might be in front in the bank bets had she won this day. I think they had 80 on her, and it looked as though for all money she was going to be home as well. But just didn't put the knife into Miss Federer here.
The metaphorical knife, of course.
Still trying to fathom it.
It sounds like the metaphorical knife, unfortunately, was turned. I mean, I think there were enough things that happened in this race that gave her a bit of an excuse. Sure, she was presented, but she got sort of pretty significant check, like down the back in the first 200-300 metres of that race. And I think the blinkers will very much benefit her.
She should have won.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose so.
My money on.
Yeah,
she should have won.
The blinkers will help her. I'm pretty sure of that. And Roger James is very confident that they will benefit her. So,
2 starts back, she's run within a long neck of Probabile, who's been, you know, an absolute yardstick in our 2-year-olds. So, up to that form. And speaking to Roger James after that run, he said that there was still a lot of improvement leading in. We just need to see a more professional performance from it. And maybe the blinkers will do that, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's the intention of them. Like, you know, if you look at that price of $9, she pretty much rates just behind Bavella to me. Appellant is obviously maybe a bit more, or has hit the line better than her, but those blinkers sort of really make me consider the $9.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, bets, Jason?
Oh, look, I think Bavella's a super filly. I'd love to see her at some point, and I don't think we will this season, line up against Probabile, notwithstanding the fact that they're raced by the same connections. But Bavella is the horse that I'm pretty keen on to win, and I don't mind the Quinellas with Appellant and a smaller Quinella with Harlow. She hasn't done it, obviously she's only had the one start, and so that's what you're sort of rolling the dice a little bit with these 2-year-olds as to how much progression they've got. But now she's drawn a gate, so that, you know, I expect that she should be able to settle a little bit closer than what she did on debut. She was super late in that
Blinkers
race.
Go On.
So, yeah, home track, like, you know, when the Tangerine sort of line up at Matamata, like, I mean, every sort of horse has the home track, but, yeah.
especially important for those in Maramara because they get their colours painted on the statue and they can gloat to all the other trainers for the rest of the year. So it's a race where the Maramara trainers love winning this one. Harlow was terrific on debut, quickest last 600 of the race, and did it with a flashy style. It's got the light mane and light tail and is gorgeous, and at $11 looks to be some sort of chance of betting, but I'm going to shoulder arms here.
There'll be nothing like sort of South Auckland tagging that statue with black and gold of the Lindsay checks. I think they'll be pretty happy with that. I mean, I don't know that sort of Cambridge Stud obviously is.
And Lance Noble, of course, having trained at a Maramara for all those years, he'd love to do it too.
Yes.
Remember the barbecue we had there? It was good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
many moons ago, it
speaking
seems.
of the Te Akau Army, they have another race which they are set to dominate, which is race number 4, the Waikato stud Slipper, Aotea Lad. After his Karaka Million placing is the $2 favourite. Your Deal, son of Dundee, Matthew Cameron rides at $2.40. And the oh-so impressive big son of Exceed and Excel, Equinox, just oozed class, Aidan, at Trentham.
Super win, wasn't it? Had won by 4 3/4 at the trial. Trials leading into that wins by 2.5 on debut, and then has gone on with the by all accounts. Sidewinkers go on. Concern here for those on the $2 favourite is, that's my concern anyhow with Aotea Lad. Just doesn't seem to have the pace to take up a position. It'll be interesting to see where they go. Moeraki really showed a lot of lick in that Harlow race on debut. Just got across there really easily and won, so expect that to be the pace with Equinox sitting outside. Your Deal, I think they'll try and take up a position. Any thoughts on this, Jason?
Very much a battle of tactics, and look, if you're backing Aotea Lad, then you're wanting to see it in Scotch's spot in your map there, and whether Michael McNabb will be able to roust enough out of him to get there remains to be seen, but he could. As you say, though, Aidan, he hasn't shown a great deal, but he has drawn sticky barriers in his last 2 starts. So he's drawn the outside small field, but the outside in 8, and then he drew wide in the Karaka Million itself. So not so easy to just naturally be in a spot. So look, he might be able to find the 1x1. That's the spot that all runners would want to be in that race, assuming that Moeraki leads. If you're in that spot, then you get to decide when you go. And if either one of Aotea Lad or Your Deal finds that 1-1, gee, I think they're very hard to beat.
He looks a bit of a professional Aotea Lad, doesn't he? Yeah,
this was a really solid performance. He hits the line well, and obviously we've highlighted the performances of the fillies in this race. Well, you look at Aotea Lad, beaten home Appellant here, beat Appellant home 2 starts back in the Eclipse as well. I think it was the Eclipse, or who was in the Eclipse of the fillies? Anyhow, that was that Whiskey Neat race. So the form out of that is strong, and Your Deal hit the line okay. But of those, Aotea Lad looks to be better. It's just for mine, he's just got to find that spot, and that's all important. And from barrier 3, there's definitely a potential for him to find it.
Like the way I sort of assessed both their runs, I didn't have anything between them. Thought that Your Deal's run was equally as good, had to cover more ground from a worse draw, and to me sort of had to do just that bit more work that correlated to the difference between them on the line. So, you know, if he's able to find that trailing spot, or if he's able to sort of pop off if there's enough speed and get to that 1-1 sort of position, or even lead, like he's shown a bit more speed than maybe I've personally given him credit for, and maybe others have as well. But like I really like Your Deal to be able to turn that finishing position around on Aotea Lad.
Yeah, it was Alaluna as well who was out of that
exuberant Alaluna in that Eclipse Stakes.
Well, he's a very impressive individual, this horse. Equinox I speak of, I got the chance to see him in the flesh at Trentham. He is just an absolute brute. He actually trialled in the Sidewinkers and trialled up really nicely, and they've gone to put them back on again, and it just looks like he might just be able to find another length with them.
Something about him, there's something about this performance as well, because he's put the slipper into I don't know what he's beaten. That's the hard thing, just to really size that up. But it seems time's fine. What he's done each time, he's just put a space on them. They have paid the extra payment up for the Golden Slipper, along with Probability Arco, so they're the only 2 New Zealand trained horses that I think are still in Golden Slipper contention. Speaking to Jamie Richards today, he says they'll take all 3 of these horses probably to the Sistema Stakes and onto the Manawatu Sires, although should Equinox do something in the interim, then he could well earn a trip to Sydney. I really like him in this race, and I thought he was the horse to beat. And at 550, I'm prepared to back him.
Well, I suppose with these 2-year-olds, and the trainers and jockeys are probably in the same boat, is natural improvement. We can't, you just can't predict that sort of thing. So we're banking on Equinox just improving a little.
Jamie's thoughts on the race were that he thought that Aotea Lad and Your Deal would probably have the years just on the experience, and they've been there, done that, especially in Karaka Millions. But Equinox, on what he's done so far, we just don't know, just the progression rate he's at. I'm quite happy to have a crack at him at the spec.
Yeah, would you back him at the price, Jason, or are you? No, that was a we've done this for a while now. That head shake's a definite no.
Well, yeah, as I said, I marked Aotea Lad and Your Deal 2.4 favourites, which meant that I didn't have much percentage left, and I accept what you're saying about Equinox. I'm not betting into the race, but I marked him $10, and that. After the race, with these 2-year-old races, you'd be made to look like an absolute fool because he could find the front or he could sit outside of the leader. Those side winkers can allow them to, or help them sort of improve, So, yeah, it's just a race that the shape of it just I'm not that confident in. It's a small field. I like all 3 horses. My preference is for Your Deal, but there's no fat there.
I've just rated him a bit higher.
Yeah, maybe we need side winkers for our bank bets. Stay with us here on the first call. We're going to take a break after this. We've got one more race to have a look at. It is the Marks Ewan and Associates Kaimai Stakes.
Maybe our next punishment could be a day in the side winkers. A day in the side winkers.
Welcome back. Well, first things first, I'd like to take this opportunity now just to explain to you something new that we're doing here at the TAB. It is called Match 3. So basically, you head on to the TAB website, place a bet. The next day, you'll get a link sent to you via email. So you must check your emails. You click on that. It's like a virtual or digital scratchy. If you can pick 3 and it's all the same thing, then that money will get placed back into your account. Head on to tab.co.nz for more information about Match 3. You can get your share of $200,000. Good luck. I think it's quite good. Matamata race number 7 is the next race that we're previewing here on the first call this morning, and it's the running of the Marks Ewan and Associates Kaimai Stakes. To be run over 2,000 metres, $2.90 Rondinella. She's under 53 kilos. Vinda Dance, who won the Derby last year, $4.60, and $7.50 for Charles Road and Tiptronic. He's never won higher than rating 75, Tiptronic. Yet he finds himself up there, $7.50 and $2.60. Race number 7, Jason, Rondinella, $2.90. Is that price too short, or can we back it?
Look, it's a fraction short for me, but I don't want to decry what she has done in her career, and particularly what she showed last start at Te Rapa. It was some win. Her turn of foot at the back end of 2,000 metres was 2,100 metres specifically was outstanding. So she's
the
on
name next to her price is a really interesting one. Vinnie Colgan, 53 kilograms. That wouldn't have happened for quite some time, and it says a lot that he is prepared to get down to that weight to ride her for mine. I think that's, yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. I was done.
Shadow Fox head forward with Commander Rocoso, Prince Japil. Tiptronic will probably have to get handy. Lady Amadeus, I did map her because I think Fila is more likely to start at Otaki unless there's a lot of rain. Lady Amadeus is the first emergency there. August edition Chelsea Bell with tricky little barrier draws. Rondinella to get back. Zacata, I know they got back last time, but this horse trialled and we know the horse can run on speed.
It's just that early stage for Zacata, right? So because Zacata's drawn 1, it's sort of the draw where horses are more likely to cross him and he'll be bottled up on the rail before he can get rolling into it. So it's a little bit of a problem, I would have thought.
They'll want to be using the draw as much as possible, but like you say, I think there'll be more.
What's your overall sort of picture of pace there?
I think it might be genuine enough.
Okay.
I didn't see, obviously there will be a slackening of the speed in the middle stages, but I thought there was just enough there, and especially with some of those horses who might get caught wide, such as a Lady Amadeus, if it gets in the field, then they get caught wide, they'll probably have to inject at some point, and that might just sort of make sure it's more truly run in those early to middle stages.
Let's go back to the Herbie Dyke, a couple of horses to highlight out of this. Tiptronic being one of those, finishes into second position, as well as Charles Road, whose preparation, to be fair, Aidan, He looks like he's come back as good as he ever has.
Absolutely, super run from Charles Road. But equally, Tiptronic's really nicely placed under the handicaps for this. This is a weight for age race. Now this time round, there's a 4 kilogram swing towards Tiptronic. So Tiptronic's beaten home Charles Road. Charles Road, I think, is probably, you know, in the scheme of the preparation, is probably a better run. But Tiptronic's Group 1 place now and comes in 4 kilograms better than a rival that he beat last time out on his home track with Jason Waddell to ride. So there's enough upside about Tiptronic, but equally, Charles Road is progressing just how you want him to if you're on him for the Auckland Cup.
Interesting that you said, Matthew, that this Tiptronic, this last one was a rating 75. That's going back sort of 15, 16 months.
Yeah.
It's going back a decent amount of time, but the fact remains that he's Group 1 place and Group 2 place in his last 3 starts. So
3 group placings this campaign too.
Yeah, so you know.
He just got an awkward position in that middle run as well in the Thornton Mile, where he was tracking up a horse who was taking him nowhere in Contessa Vanessa, and he just got flushed back at the wrong time in the race. So it was a forgive run, and he's come back and shown that the form's strong.
So to the credit of Graham Richardson and Gavin Parker, they have Tiptronic racing as well as they ever have. And, you know, you add Volpe Veloce, who appears to be in similar form, and their 2 flagship horses are really going well.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let's have a look at Rondinella. We'll go back to its winner, T Rapa, and this is why she's the race favourite and potentially why Vincent Colgan wants to get down to that lightweight.
Absolutely. We see also August Edition just coming down the outside into this race, and Very Flashy was well back, close to the inside, just starting to battle. But this is a strong win. Rondinella drops another couple of kilograms, so meets August Edition a couple of kilograms better. Very Flash is dropping 4.5, but needs to improve. This is a dominant performance by a high-class filly.
It is. It's a very thin race, though. You take out Sacred Day, who was probably ridden upside down, or I shouldn't say probably, was ridden upside down. And there wasn't much speed. It's not to say that necessarily as a general rule where Sacred Day was a bad place, but for him to be sort of facing the breeze, that's not really how you get the best out of him, you wouldn't say.
Yeah.
So she had that run that if you'd swapped them, I don't know if you would have seen Sacred Day do quite that, but you might have seen Sacred Day finish better. Outside of them, you place sort of August Edition is in this race. Char-Siu Bao is also in this race. So, you know, she's beaten up on them fairly and squarely, but there wasn't a lot of depth to that. There's going to be a lot more competition and pressure in this race. A horse that I'm really warming to is Vinda Dance, second up. I like how he's placed in the race. Look, you start going through that 3-year-old form now, and there's big red flags around it saying, hey, this is the fair dinkum form that you need to be considering. We've seen On the Rocks be a Group 1 winner, also Group 2 winner. We know Dance has won 2 Group 1 races since. Scott Base hasn't come up, but all those horses, you know, they're running well. Vinda Dance has had 1 run under his belt, very well performed, and now he's in a handicap. To me, that just screams of a really solid bet.
Would the Sydney Cup be on his radar?
I think so. I think they're looking
$26.
Yeah, I think they're looking at New Zealand Stakes on the back of this. So the Group 1 on the 9th of March at Ellerslie, and then on to Sydney. And like, there's nothing against him. Like he had a few issues obviously in the spring. We didn't see the best of him. He's come back with a really encouraging first up run, and now into a race at a handicap where he's in on 53.5 kilograms.
Yeah.
He's beautifully won. You look at Rondinella. I know she's won 4 from 9 and was big last time. He's a Group 1 winner who's in only half a kilogram better, so he's in really nicely placed here.
It's not a case of, again, like between him and Rondinella, I've got them priced up at $3.80 the pair. So that's how I'd see them very much dominating the finish of the race. I think they're both ideally in, but one's a bet and one's just not quite a bet at the price. But yeah, Vinda Dance, I'm very keen on to run a big race.
The price that really got me in this race was Watch This Space. It was just terrific. 2 starts back, runs 3rd in the Thornton Mile. Last time out in a speed-dominated BDC group sprint, has run home really strongly to finish, you know, 4 lengths, within 4 lengths of Melody Bell. Steps up to 2,000 metres, and that's obviously it's a decent-sized step, but I think $18 was very attractive for Watch This Space, so I want to be playing her, and yeah, that's my play in the race.
Well, he's only been twice tried past 1,600. One of those was in Lizzie Lamore's Herbie Dyke, where he finished into 7th. Just one more I want to touch on with you both here is Prince Jabeel, 3rd of the Wellington Cup, won the City of Auckland Cup. Maybe just a little bit too short for him here?
Maybe, but obviously those 2 Cup runs were good. This is a lead up into the Auckland Cup, obviously, but speaking to Lance during the week, he said he's in really good order and that he does expect him to run a cheeky race. One good thing about him is he'd be somewhere near the speed.
Oh, look, I think that he's a price worth specking. Again, I'm a little bit surprised. I know he's dropping back in distance, but he's got a lot of residual fitness out of the Wellington Cup. He's had a little bit of a break, but I don't think that'll do him any harm. His form has been outstanding. He's actually clicked into gear.
Yeah. Interesting thing, he carried 59 in a Wellington Cup. This is a Con My Stakes.
Exactly.
He's got 53.
So that's why I've included him in a Quinella bet in that race, because I think he's a really good price. So, if he were to come out and win, you'd be thinking, well, how have we missed that? But look, it is a really competitive race. It's a good betting race, that race.
You can catch his trainer Lance Noble on the Punters Lounge live here on Channel 62. And Isaiah Savabeel, he's about to go via the $3 million mark for his progeny for the season. So fantastic once again from him. So we sort of bets out?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. They're pretty firm on Vinda Dance and sort of Quinellas with Rondinella and smaller Quinellas with Prince Jabir. I haven't talked about Giovanni Canaletto, gets the blinkers on, has trialled since... trialled at the back end of January. Look, if he's ever going to show anything, it's going to be in a race like this. He's low down in the handicaps, he has the blinkers on, it's his home track, and there's a little bit of rain around, so that ease in the ground's a benefit. You'd have to be asking question marks if he can't show something tomorrow.
Okay.
What'd you like?
What did I like? Well, look, it's hard to go past Vinda Dance. I'm probably a little bit emotional about it because...
you were big on in the derby last year.
Has Vinda Dance basically fed you for a year? I think he pretty much has.
Fed myself, actually, for the last year.
No, but I mean, the bet on him, because he also made a lot of money.
It put me in a decent spot.
Yeah. You've been getting Christmas cake for
As I said, I may need the side blinkers on for the bank bets. We'll leave it there. Dan O'Sullivan's along after this.
I'm pretty keen on actually having the loser dress up and some side blinkers and have to walk around downtown Auckland or something like that. Or maybe Christchurch. Downtown Christchurch.
There we go.
To gallop, ready, racing in the Blue Diamond. Written by at the 200 metres, 2 lengths in front. Enbahar charging on the outside, but it's written by for Jordan Childs. What a victory! What a moment for the young man.
All I see is you lately. Wide awake and in my dreams, I see your face so vividly. Don't know what I do, ooh, baby. If you only saw a friend in me, I'd be bittersweet.
Our Australian form expert Dan O'Sullivan joins us on the line here on the first call. Dan, thanks so much for last week in her time and microphone. Both really good results for our punters.
Yeah, it was a nice result. Both those races, it's good to get on the right side of them, so we celebrate that. And then as a punter, as you know, you've always got to be looking forward because the next challenge is just around the corner.
Sometimes I'm doing too much looking back, Dan. I can give you the tip. What about this week, the Blue Diamond, the 2-year-olds? Exciting time when they meet.
Yeah, look, it's a great race. It's a very open and competitive race. But look, as a general principle, I think the fillies have a much stronger hand with the colts. And I've got a theory on top that James Cummings trained filly. She's around $8 in the market, but I think she should be much shorter. I thought she was really good in the fillies prelude. She was beaten by Liar. But look, she was only first up. She raced without cover, and she actually provided Liar with the perfect trail into the race. So I think off the back of that first up run, she's been set for this race all along, so I expect her to have improvement. And James Cummings, to be honest, is building a terrific record at getting his horses to peak at the right time. So I think she's nicely set up here to run to a big new peak that can win the race, albeit there are plenty of challenges. A little bit's been made of the wide draw, but a little known fact is that in these Caulfield sprint races, wide draws actually win more often than inside draws due to the fact they have a long straight run and there's only a fairly short turn and those wider horses can build momentum. So, look, I think a theory's got plenty of ability and even though it's an open race, I've marked her $5 and at around $8, I think she's a really nice bet. Liar is definitely a chance and I think she's about the right price in the market. The other value runner I see is Vinnie Kunka, who was second to Liar. She was only first up in the prelude, and I just like the way she showed early speed, relaxed and then was able to kick before, just being claimed late. So I think she's one open to a lot of improvement here, and with a soft run from Barrier 4 can certainly run a good race and even win. Of the other horses in the market, I'm against I'm Immortal, who I liked last start, but I think he just goes far too hard to maintain his rating at 1,200 metres. And Loving Gabby, who's challenging for favouritism at the moment off a run at Caulfield on debut, I think that's been overhyped way too much. I don't think there was anywhere near the level of substance you're looking for to win a Blue Diamond in that run, either on the clock or just in a few other factors. And while these type of horses can improve sharply, you're definitely on the right side of the ledger potting them until you actually see them produce something of substance. So for me, I think a theory's a clear value bet. And if you like backing more than one horse in a race, you can back Vinnakunka as well and probably save on Wire.
Well, for our punters at home, to you, Dan O'Sullivan, he was 2 from 2 last week with both of his best bets. Dan, your opportunity now to share your thoughts around your best bets this weekend.
Yeah, look, for one, I'm going to stay at Caulfield, race 5, Zeus Sane. He's a top-class colt who was a close second in the Golden Rose to the Autumn Sun and then a close second in the Coolmore, the Flemington Straight last spring. And he resumes here at a much lower level race. Look, he's trialled really impressively leading up to say he's come back well. And look, he has a dominant rating profile, and even taking a conservative view of where he might return, I think he still holds a clear edge over his rivals here. And he's around $1.95 in the market. I think that's a really great bet at short odds. I think he should be sort of closer to $1.65, $1.70. And the other one will go to Morphettville, race 7, Camel Passar. He's been racing in good, consistent form with a really good, solid history of ratings that are very hard to beat. He's on a 7-day backup, which I like, and he's got tactical speed to take up a position, and I think that could be key here because the favourite, Illusion, will be back near last in the 12-horse field, and it's on a day where I think those closer to the lead, are perhaps going to be a little bit better suited here. So I think around 350 is a really nice bet as well.
And we've got a Group 1 race here in New Zealand, the Otaki Wait for Age. We see Chris Waller's Endless Drama line up. How would you slot him into that field on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I definitely think he's one of the contenders. His first up run here was okay, was pretty solid. It was certainly at a rating level that's within a length or two of his best. So I think he's come back reasonably well. And there's no doubt that on his best figures here in Australia, which included a Group 2 win at Wait for Age, and he's been, not too far behind others at Group 1 Wait for Age level, he can run to a figure that can definitely win that race over there. A little bit of a soft track won't be any concern to him at all. It's just a matter of, whether he's going to be able to produce that on the day. So I wouldn't have him as a leading chance, but I definitely think he's somewhere in the mix. And, it wouldn't surprise me if he ran a really, really good race.
Dan Aidan-Rodley, just wanted to ask about Sensei. I know you sort of assessed the Telegraph run, probably at his best. How does he figure in that Oakley Plate from a wide draw tomorrow?
Yeah, look, I think there was plenty of merit in that Telegraph run. I mean, everyone saw he was wide, and I think from memory it was a day where the inside was better. Look, I think from my perspective, his rating from that run still a couple of lengths below the level that'll be needed in the Oakley Plate here. And the other factor I observed about that run was it was more like a run where he was sort of sticking on, and he really only made up ground in the last 75 when the leaders were stopping after they'd gone fairly solidly early. So I think back to 1,100 metres here in a fast-run race, I think that's really against him. He's running the Telegraph to me, said he's probably looking for 1,400 rather than a drop back to a slick 1,100. So I just have a query whether he's going to have that sort of sharper turn of foot he's going to need to put himself into the race back over 1,100. So, I think the market's probably got him around the right price. Albeit, look, it wouldn't surprise me if he was finishing off strongly because they will go hard. But, it's hard for me to see him, running into the placings or anything like that.
Dan, thanks so much for your time here on the First Call this morning. Great analysis as per the Norm Savvy Cope as well, lining up there too. Race number 7 tomorrow. From Dan O to Thado. Hey, Thad, how's things?
Yeah, morning, Matthew. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks. How did you get on last weekend?
Yeah, look, Vern and me, we gave the money back last week in the First Call special. Obviously, Surely Sacred and that Avondale Guineas was a reasonable result for us with the favourite there. Cut a deal, underperforming to be fair to say, now out to $18 in the Derby market. Cut a deal, Surely Sacred $3. Vern and me's been very, very well backed in the last week, and even prior to that now $5.50, and Sword and Stone, our other losing result. So, yeah, Vern and me, we got the money back. Looks like they've reinvested all that on the futures derbies around Vern and me.
Okay, we've got Group 1 racing on Saturday out of Otaki. With the weather, bearing that in mind, what have you noticed in terms of the flow around the Haunaway farm?
Yeah, it probably hasn't changed a heck of a lot, Matthew. I mean, I suppose More Wonder, a Shadows Cast might be a little bit of a query potentially, but Melody Bell and Volpe Veloce both can handle a dead to slow track. And maybe the barrier draw, which many were thinking was a disadvantage for Melody Bell, maybe turns into a slight advantage now with those outside barrier draws. So it makes for a very intriguing betting race, and it has proven to be so thus far. Volpe Veloce has been extremely well backed in half a point, 6.50 to 6, but there is money for Endless Drama. We took a $500 bet this morning at $8. There's money for Bostonian. He will love a bit of sting out of the ground. And Supera, dominant win last time there at Trentham in the anniversary, and there's money for Supera as well, 12 into 10. So very intriguing betting race. I must mention ladies first. She'll love the cutout. Boy, she's a horrible result for us already in Sydney Cup futures. They're expecting a big run tomorrow, even though it's far short of her best distance.
The J-Swap Contractors, Matamata Breeders is the feature there, and Bavella, you opened up even money, Thad, it's been trimmed. What can you tell us about the flow there?
Yeah, it's steady, Jason. Look, they haven't really climbed in yet. There is a little bit of money for the Roger James train, has to be good, who would deserve a win off its form line. I think it's 3.32 or 3.22. And Harlow's the other one. Obviously, the Tiakau stable flying one start, one win. Appellant as well, third in a crack, $1 million in play at $4.80. But yeah, look, nominated for a Golden Slipper, Jason. Looks very impressive indeed. 2 from 2. You've got to like Bavella to resume with the win. Looking forward to the 2-year-olds lining up tomorrow, Thad. Also looking forward to the First Call Special. What can you do for us? Yeah, we're going Volpe Veloce. There's a little bit of talk around Melody Bell's barrier draw. She's a little bit wide. Volpe Veloce drawn to get a sweet run. Won't mind a little bit of rain about, boys. And has been the best back, $6.50 into $6. $4.50 in the First Call Special today. And we'll refund your money if Volpe Veloce runs second or third. And you can have $4.50, Matt.
Thad, what about, you're talking about Volpe Veloce, what about Melody Bell? Can you do something around us, maybe not even for the First Call, but maybe for tomorrow perhaps?
Oh, those Punters Lounge people, Aidan, I don't know about that. Yeah, look, we might have a look into a either or option for you tomorrow, and Stephen Hunt might be able to bring you that tomorrow on the Punters Lounge, perhaps either Melody Bell or Volpe Veloce to win if you like to save that way. It'll probably be somewhere around even money, I'd suggest, if you like that option. So we'll open that up tomorrow for the Punters Lounge, boys, your arch enemies.
Oh, I love your work. You're part of the team, Thad, remember? You're part of it.
I'm with you, boys. First call on the way.
Yeah, happy days. See you next week, Thad. Good man. OK, we're running out of time. Aidan, Jason, you better go first. More graphics.
I'm in a coma here. I don't know whether Martha or Martha on the First Call of the Punters Lounge, but here are my bets. Most of them already advertised in the show. Monaco's in great form.
Yeah.
So I think he can continue. He's well placed. I'm pretty keen on Bavella. My best bet is at Otaki, and that is in the last race, Platinum Invader. Couldn't have had any less luck or any less good luck last time, so they need the prize money to maybe get to 19th in the Derby order of entry.
Yep, Onondawa was good at the trials too, I like that. I'm going Equinox at Matamata along with Watch This Space, double as we've spoken about, and I'll take $140 of that special tomorrow, Melody Bell and Volpe Veloce.
I like it, $200 spend. Tolmac in the first at Matamata. Equinox, 50 to win on him. Quaff's the best of the day. Race 3, Otaki, any rain's going to help him. Cleaver, he's by Guillotine from the same stable, 30 to win on him in race number 5 and playing around Platinum Invader 2. Jason Tan, you're up the top, $1,400 profit so far. Good on you. Yeah. You're going with the Derby horse in Platinum Invader.
Well, potentially. I'm sure they'd love him to get into the Derby from what they've seen from him over ground, that is for sure. But maybe we could try an ambitious crossover between the First Call and the Punters Lounge Live one of these days.
No.
No?
No, we'll leave that there. Maybe, Jason.
We're all friends.
We're all playing on the same team,
exactly.
aren't
we? We are, yes we are. Lovely to have you with us this morning, gentlemen.
Teams.
We'll see you again next week. Punters Lounge Live tomorrow. Jason, you on again?
as I said, I do both shows.
It's your baby. And then, of course, next Thursday, 10:30 a.m, is the Derby preview show. Looking
Love
forward
them
to
both,
joining you
no
for that.
favourites.
tab.co.nz. Check out the Punters Lounge. You'll find all of Stu Lang's bets on there, as well as Jason Aiden's and myself. To you
Winners
at
on
home.
both.
Happy Group 1 weekend from these two gentlemen and myself. Bye-bye.